It's time to meet Clifton.
With your host, Ray Grabowski.
Here's Ray.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Meet Clifton. We have a great show for you tonight. As usual, we have a variety of topics to discuss, including our local county court system and banking and financial services. It's going to be a great and informative episode, so stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, pretty baby, dance it down. Don't you hear the band applauding? Dance it down. You hear the hip hip with the backbeat. Dance it down. Don't you see the gang a grooving? Dance it down. You gotta catch your bottom moving. Dance it down. You gotta slop, bop, flip, flop, hip hop, never stop. Dance it down.
Tonight's guests are
You gotta move.
Passaic County Surrogate Judge the Honorable Zoila Casanova,
You gotta clap, clap, clap. Way off the
M&T Relationship Manager Ilya Silwali,
Dance it down. Dance it down. When you're in Clifton.
featuring the music of Swingman and the Misfit Mutts,
You hear the hip hip with the backbeat. Dance it down. Don't you see the gang and grooving? Dance it down. You gotta get your bottom moving. Dance it down. You gotta slop, bop, flip, flop, hip hop, never stop. Dance it down. Dance it down. You gotta boom, 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 round and round. Dance it down. Dance it down. You gotta flap, flap.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Meet Clifton.
Okay, welcome back. Tonight with us we have the Honorable Zoila Casanova, Esquire, Passaic County Surrogate Judge. And the topic's going to be Passaic County Surrogate Court and the importance of probate. So, of course, we're going to go right at the beginning. Judge, for those unfamiliar, can you explain what the Surrogates Court does and why it's so important as a part of the county legal system?
Well, the Passaic County Surrogate Court, or the Surrogate Court in New Jersey, is a court of limited jurisdiction at the county level, much like a tax court. Our jurisdiction is limited to probate, guardianship of adults and minors, as well as adoptions. So it's really special, and I always say that it's the people's court because in New Jersey, all judges are appointed, and yet the surrogate is the only elected judicial position in the state of New Jersey. So it's the only elected judge because we are the people's court. Individuals could go the entire life and never get a traffic ticket, never have a criminal matter or a civil matter. However, the surrogates court will touch them, and that is why throughout the United States and most states, the surrogate judge is an elected position.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, well we'll get to that point. But you've made accessibility a priority during your tenure. Can you tell me about your initiatives that you've introduced, night court, more language tools to better serve the community?
Well, as I stated before, the surrogates court is the people's court. And so once I became surrogate in 2022, I wanted to make sure that I demystified the court by making it more accessible, such as incorporating artificial intelligence to allow individuals to speak to AI and learn about the probate process in 72 different languages. So you can use the chat feature on the surrogate court's website, as well as the after hours phone interaction, and tell AI, I'm going to speak in Bengali, in Spanish, in Arabic, in Quadrati, which is actually one of the many languages, 72 different languages we're able to communicate, which is something that when you're dealing with the loss of a loved one is really important. I want to go where the individuals are, in addition to and actually, I was the first person to, according to the some national innovators website, and I was awarded with one other member of Passaic County Municipal as the first to use AI at the county and state level in the state of New Jersey in 2024. So I was one of the first to start this process and make sure that when it comes to dealing with an estate, the loss of a loved one, as well as having to declare a loved one incapacitated and have to get guardianship, we should be able to provide that service in any language. And that is one of the things that I've done. I've also made it more accessible so that people don't have to take the day off to deal with an estate matter. So I've expanded night court. So on any given Tuesday and on a Thursday in Totowa, we have Clifton, Wayne, West Milford, Hawthorne, as well as I said, on Thursdays. And Patterson also has night court from 5 to 7 on Tuesdays every rotating day. So we've expanded night court to now 7 locations in the county. In order to make it easier for those, you've already lost a loved one, I'm doing my best to make the surrogates court more accessible, as well as some of the initiatives that I've done is every other month throughout the county, I host free will events where you will be getting a simple last will and testament, a power of attorney, both a financial as well as a health, and your living will or health directive, which are 3 of the most important documents that anyone should have. The 4th is the health proxy, and I also offer a fillable health proxy on the Surrogates Court website, in addition to videos that provide general information on what to do when your loved one has passed away and you need to change the title of a vehicle, as well as, which is the most common question that most people have to call the surrogates court when someone has passed, as well as other forms like the transfer upon death form of your vehicle, which is available through DMV in the state of New Jersey. You're able to transfer your vehicle in the event that somebody passes. That car you don't have to go, it makes it a non-probatable asset, which is all these things that we're able to do. So visit the website.
Do you make house calls?
I actually do, for those upon request, for those that are unable to leave their home because of physical disability or sometimes age. We do make house visits, but that has to be by appointment.
Now, I want to ask you about the probate process. Someone doesn't have a will, then that's always a big problem. And so that comes to you.
Yes.
And what happens when, I don't know the process, but I know if someone does have a will and you have children involved and relatives, and it could get a little sticky. So I don't know that process. If you could explain that a little bit.
Which is why I have that initiative of every other month trying to get people that live in Passaic County anyone 60 and over that's able to qualify for a simple will, and our veterans regardless of age, because I want the residents not to pass intestate, which is without a will. And so when somebody passes without a will, you are at the mercy of the state statute and who is in priority. So if there is a surviving spouse of the decedent, they take priority to act, and they are the primary. If there are no surviving spouses, then we go and see if there's children. If there are no surviving children, then we go to the parents, and then down to the siblings, and so on and so forth, till we find a relative, a blood relative. And if there is none on that line, we go to the parents of the decedent and start that line. And to avoid waste, as a last resort, we will appoint an attorney to ensure that the assets are not go to waste, a tax lien, or are lost in some way. But it's a lengthy process. Sure. And also we do our best to walk people through. Like I said, one of my initiatives is to make the process in the surrogates court as easy as possible, so individuals may not necessarily need an attorney to represent them. In the surrogates court, my staff and my team do their best to help people, and I want to make sure, like in the same method as I provide the multiple languages, we try and work with the public as much as possible, so that way the process is easy and you don't have to spend an additional cost on an attorney in the event that there is a need to send the matter to Superior Court as a last resort.
No. Do you deal with if some relative contests the will? Well, let's say someone leaves everything to me, but my sister or my brother decide that I'm not the one that's supposed to have it and they want to contest it. Does
Yes.
that come to you? Because that's got to be difficult.
Yes, that comes to me as well. That is with the filing of what is called a caveat, and that is how someone will contest the validity of a will. And sometimes we'll try and see if there is a way to mediate that so that we don't avoid the cost of and settle the matter prior to going to Superior Court, because that does take some time because there has to be a scheduled hearing and people have to hire attorneys for representation most of the time in order to get through that issue. And it may just not, the caveats are limited. So you can't just say, well, I don't think that you deserve what you're getting. You have to show proof of what that is. And sometimes just sitting down and explaining to the family what the purpose of the caveat is and whether their argument for the caveat is actually a valid one sometimes eases families, because we deal with people having lost a loved one, and that creates a lot of emotions that sometimes just sitting down with the family members, sometimes individually or in a group, and actually settling it, kind of like a therapist per se.
Yeah. No, but I could see, because some people, they change the will 3 weeks before they pass away, and they're incapacitated, and one of the children feel like the mother's father or whomever signed it in duress. And I'm sure that happens a lot.
It happens a lot, and we also have a lot more arguments between families, and I tell individuals, don't let your family grieve you twice. The physical loss and the loss of having to deal with the legal process for your assets. So we want to make sure that you get a will done, and a basic will, and know the difference. I also do presentations all the time, educating communities. I speak at the libraries, I speak at senior homes, as well as small groups. My limitation is that I cannot share the dais with anyone who is charging a fee. And I can't bring gifts or anything else with me. I do a lot of handouts, but it's a lot of information, and we try to also answer some of the questions about trust, because a lot of people hear on TV or that the probate process takes a really long time. On average, in the state of New Jersey, an uncontested estate is about no more than 2 weeks, and at worst case scenarios 4. And only if there's a court matter, unlike right across the river in New York, where this is a slightly different process and it's a full judicial process. So it takes 6 months, sometimes a year, even in an estate with a will in another state. And a lot of other states make this process a little bit more difficult. In New Jersey, we're fortunate that we are a pro-testator state, and we do our best to actually ease and fulfill the intent of the testator, and get the process as easy as possible. If we cannot find a loved one in an administration, we then have the Attorney General step in their place.
Yeah.
So we send notice to the Attorney General. Eventually, those assets are then placed under unclaimed funds in the state of New Jersey. But there is a way, without a will, that we can move forward. Some states do not allow that.
Okay. All right. So now here's on a lighter note. This is a good question. You've been recognized nationally for your leadership in local government. So the question would be, what drives your commitment, and the public service? Because obviously you're into this.
I have realized that I am helping people junkie. So I got into this space because during COVID, I was calling all our representatives that would take my call or hopefully read my emails, and explaining the importance of having a public service announcement on the documents like the health proxy and your will or your health directive, especially during the time of COVID. And so I even drafted that public service announcement. Nobody took it, but it was so important because people don't understand, for example, the health proxy. If you have an adult child that is single, and we have to pay for our children till age 26 health care insurance if they live with us, yet I cannot fight a bill because my adult child has federal health information privacy protections at the federal level, yet I'm paying for the insurance. If I am their health proxy, if something should happen to my adult child, I can have, based on whatever authority they have given me under this health proxy, which is also available, like I said, on the surrogate's website for free, and you could fill it out and then go to a notary and have it executed properly. But that allows a parent to call and be part of that medical decision. If not, it is left up to the health professionals. The same thing with the health directive, living will.
Right, and this is a tough topic, guardianship and adoption, because there's a lot involved. I know it's an emotional matter because you're dealing with maybe two parents. I don't know, but how do you approach these cases?
Well, guardianship is split into different categories. We have, of course, the adult guardianship. And adult guardianship is either somebody who was born with some sort of disability that needs a guardian. So I work with the special needs community, and I also host a clinic. In the months that I'm not doing wills, I am hosting clinics to empower parents on how to fill out the guardianship packet, and it's broken down into the person only or the estate or both. And I explain to the parents and whoever is going to step as the potential guardian how to fill this out so that it's a cost that they don't have to incur. Now, sometimes it might be overwhelming and you might need the help of an attorney to complete those forms, but I guide you through it for what I can do, which is explain what each form is and how to fill out those forms. Then we have the adults, seniors, or a loved one who is suffering from some sort of neurological mental disability like dementia or Alzheimer's, where you might need to declare your parent, grandparent in need of a guardian, which is legally incapacitated. And the standard for legally incapacitated is unable to care for themselves and or their affairs. Right. And so that group as well, sometimes at Preakness Health Center, I will host for the providers. Then we have the minors, which is for testamentary guardianship or standby guardian. If you have a will and you have minor children and in your will you've designated the guardian, very few people know that you can actually come to the surrogate's court and do an extra step, which is appoint the standby guardian, which has expanded the categories recently. As of 2025 January, we've expanded the category to avail yourself of standby guardian to those that are facing potential detention. So you have people that might be dealing with a criminal matter or have questionable immigration standing in the United States that can designate a guardian for a U.S. citizen child, or know that their child, in the event that they are incarcerated, can designate who would take care of their child on their own instead of those that are presented in family court. And that is an option. If you have a will and you designate New Jersey rightfully wants to protect the welfare of all children in the state, and so when you draft your will and designate a guardian under your will, it is a recommendation and not automatic. The family court will decide ultimately to ensure that your choice is in the best interest of the child.
Okay, well, that's important. Okay, and lastly, we'll give some advice to the residents, especially the seniors and veterans, about just some advice on preparing their wills and planning their estates so that they get some knowledge here.
Well, you want to make sure that you speak to the person that you want to be the executor. And I always say that nowadays we also should designate not only a funeral representative, but we also should think about our digital representative, which is very common now. We do everything online, and somebody who has the authority to look into your Apple account or any other social media, and also let people know and fill out that legacy representative when you have emails or banking, because now as we move more and more to online banking, we cannot, if you do not have a will, we can't verify it. There's no statement, so it takes longer in probating that estate. So if we think about that, Think about also if you have to try and do as many things passing outside of probate. So like I mentioned that in the state of New Jersey, we have a transfer on death designation form off of DMV or in the Passaic County Surrogates website where you can actually designate who will get your vehicle in the event of your passing, making it not part of the probate process. The other, you can also do pay on death or transfer on death. Pay on death is a designation of your bank accounts so that you have a beneficiary, and a transfer on death is for financial investments. So designate a beneficiary. Look at least twice a year when we move the clock forward or back. If you have a will, see if you still like the people that you've given your assets to. See if your executor is still alive, and make sure that you, where possible, designate more than one successor executor and try and pick one at a time. If you have multiple children, you're not being fair. You're just sometimes making it a little bit more complicated for the one actor, because if you identify more than one executor, they have to act together. When I appoint more than one administrator, they must act together. It's not or it's together, it's and they must go to the bank. And as we live in different locations in different areas, it sometimes makes it difficult to get two people to get to the bank together or go and deal with DMV together. So put them in priority and speak to your children or speak to your family members that you want to designate as the fiduciary. The fiduciary is the administrator or executor. We also in the state of New Jersey have the affiant, which will be for small estates if there's a surviving spouse and the value of the estate is under $50,000. I'm allowed to grant them just an affidavit of surviving spouse, which then it's a one-day thing. You walk in and you are able to walk out so long as you're able to. Most of the time it's the vehicle. And that's why I really stress designate the transfer upon death of your vehicle, utilize that form from DMV, and pass that along without having a worry. Look at your 401ks and make sure you have a beneficiary. If you die without a will and do not have a beneficiary on your life insurance, a living beneficiary on your life insurance or on your 401k 3B or any kind of pension, that becomes part of the estate. And there is a bond requirement that I cannot avoid. If there's there's no bond requirement for a surviving spouse, but there is a bond requirement for everyone else. And that's a 10% value of an estate. So in North Jersey, our property value is really high. So think about that. On average, our homes in Passaic County are about $500,000. 10% of that has to be part of a surety, and many people cannot afford that because you can't take that out of the estate. It is there to protect the heirs, and that's sometimes where we have a little bit of a problem. Make sure that the language to waive the bond in your will is there as well.
Okay, well, that's a lot of information. It's a lot,
real lot.
but it's good to absorb.
Which is why I offer to come and speak to the community whenever.
But we're letting the public know that, of course, this is the woman that you would go and see, or at least call her office. These things are very important because people don't realize, because everyone thinks they're going to live forever, and or they're afraid, they're superstitious. So if you have any questions, of course, always call the surrogate's office. Ms. Casanova will be more than happy to help you or have someone help you. But we'd like to thank you for coming on. Great information,
My
stuff I
pleasure.
didn't know about, and still I have 100 more questions. But
I look forward to
we'll get back
coming
to that. But thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, Clifton and friends, and welcome to the updates. Well, we're in full swing with the holidays, so hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. Well, moving forward, we have all the Christmas tree lightings that are happening. Of course, Botany Village, I believe, is tonight, so hopefully you are there. And on Saturday, December 6th at 5 p.m., the Athenia Business Association has the Athenia Christmas tree lighting right on Van Houten Avenue, a block away from Mario's restaurant, so you can't miss it. Then also the next day, December 7th, Clifton City Hall, right on the grounds. A huge Christmas tree lighting is over there. That again is at 5 p.m. So let's come out and meet Santa Claus there, the fire truck. You'll have a great time lighting the Christmas tree. And of course, there'll be some entertainment as well. So please stop by, and you'll also get, the children will get coloring books and candy canes. So you can't beat that. Then you also have story time with Mrs. Claus. And that is a Thursday, December 11th at 4:30 p.m. at the Allwood Library. So please remember that, December 11th, 4:30 p.m., Storytime with Mrs. Claus. And we have Candyland coming up December 13th. That is 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's at the City Hall, Clifton Grounds Complex, 900 Clifton Avenue. There is registration, and that the tent opens at 4:30 p.m. The cost is $8 per person pre-registration and $12 per person purchased at the event. But they have lots to do over there. Train rides, candy cane hunt, rides, Santa visit, crafts, games, hot chocolate, and also there's food for purchase and so much more. So the recreation department does such a great job with that. And they also are collecting different coats and new toys for those in need. And that is through the giving of the Clifton FMBA Local 21 and the Power of One as well. So please be as generous as you can, because it is well appreciated. Now for fun time coming up, this would be Wednesdays, January 7th through March 11th, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. It is line dancing for adults 55 and more senior and more experienced. So come on out and have a good time. That's at the Clifton Boys and Girls Club at 181 Colfax Ave. And if you do need to get information, please call 973-470-5956. And you do have to do pre-registration beforehand as well. So over here, we want to wish everyone a very, very happy holiday, no matter what you're celebrating. Keep warm, safe, and enjoy your holidays with family, friends, and just neighbors as well. So thank you for tuning in, and enjoy your holidays.
Sit only lonely, all the heartaches I've been through. Sit only lonely, I cry for you. Maybe tomorrow a new romance, no more sorrow, but that's the chance you gotta take if you're lonely. Heart breaks, only the lonely.
Okay, welcome back. Tonight we have with us a banker, and trying to get his name right, Ilyas Ilawali. That's right. That's a tough one. He's a relationship manager at M&T Bank. And today's subject is going to be banking and financial services. And we're going to deal with a little bit of fraud because that's important. But just tell me a little bit about your background and, what's your day-to-day role.
Yeah, thanks for having me tonight.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, so I've been in banking going a little on 7 years now, different institutions. Right now I'm at M&T Bank. So, M&T Bank is about 80 plus branches in New Jersey. They're definitely community focused, everything from retail, business, wealth management. Right. We really are a full service bank. And this is probably where I, love to thrive because I get to see the stories behind the clients, so build relationships. And, now I've been with M&T a little over 4 years. So, yeah, that was a little bit about my background.
All right. And, we're going to jump right into this because it's this time of the year that consumers need to be aware of a lot of fraud and things like that. So, give us an overall view here because I hear a lot about this.
Yes. So this time of year, especially, it's the time of year where it should be joyous. We should be having fun with our families, and we're thinking about positive things. But unfortunately, it is a time where these known fraudsters are on the prowl. So we see a number of schemes from phone phishing, whether they're going to be calling you, email phishing. They're going to send you random emails with links. So really what we ask is just be vigilant. So number one, again, have a relationship with your banker. That's number one. If you don't have one, figure out where your local branch is, give them a call, or even go visit, introduce yourself, get their cards. You're going to get a call from a random fisher, say, no, thank you, I have a banker. Call them. They'll have the real answers for you.
Right.
And then again, back to the vigilance, people want to protect themselves, right? So again, we have those tools. So whether it's online banking, having multiple passwords, biometrics, so whether it's your face or your fingerprint, putting up those alerts on your phones, having the online. Some people are still waiting for their statement at the end of the month. They don't know what's going on with their account. You really should have online banking to at least monitor your account.
Because
Something
you
fishy.
can see it 24 hours.
Immediately. Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of people aren't really savvy with these things. So are there ways that they could avoid these scams besides the online banking? Because some people don't do
So again, I know we don't want you to change the way you bank. So some people, they're still writing checks. If I can say my, personal opinion, try not to. But again, we don't want you to flip your whole life upside down. So again, just be wary. If you're going to write a check, give it to a trusted source. Don't put it in the mailbox if you can avoid it. And then again, just have that relationship with your banker. Again, he can check your account. If you don't want a person, if you're not comfortable with online banking, they can still check your accounts. They can check it for you. You don't have to wait for your statements.
Right. You should go in and say any activity on my account.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people still do use checks. I mean, they mail their mortgage checks in. They mail their what do they call it, HOA
Their fees.
Yep. That get mailed in. A lot
Some
of
people
people
are
use
paying their
credit
insurance
card,
still.
insurance,
Yep.
public service. I mean, I do most of my stuff on phone because I've had problems with this. But some people they're so used to checks, and I don't know if there's any way around it. You can't hide the check.
Yeah. So again, one thing I like about the online banking, I know I'm kind of going back to it multiple times, but there's a feature called bill pay. If you do like the feature of checks, so bill pay allows you to send a paper check to the payee, but that check will not actually have your account number on there. So in that terrible situation, if it does get pulled out of the box, your account is not compromised.
Oh, really?
So again, a few different things that we could get in front of. Another thing to kind of look out for, these fraudsters, they're advancing just as fast as we are. We've seen them call clients, and it is our number. They can actually spoof phone numbers.
Yeah.
So, again, it's not easy. It's not easy. Again, we're the professionals, and we have a hard time with it. So, I would just say, again, get in front of your banker, see all the options, especially if it's a business account. That's your livelihood, that's your lifeblood.
Sure, you lose a lot.
So again, you're going to be moving a lot of checks there back and forth, ACHs, other digital payments. So, if you're a business owner, small business, or large corporation.
But does the bank or your bank or any bank offer any protection for people that do get scammed?
Yeah, so there's regulations in place where obviously the sooner we can catch it,
Right.
it's more of a chance that we can make you whole.
Right.
Again, each scenario is a little bit different. Whether, again, the big question is how it happened, So again, we talked about a few things. One other thing I'd like to kind of dip on is debit card transactions.
Okay.
So if people, especially with the holidays, if you're making these purchases in the mall, you're going to restaurants, try to use a credit card instead. if you are using your debit card, I know some people are using their debit, which is linked to most of the time their checking account.
Right.
And that I don't recommend because there's skimmers, gas stations. Again, you go to the grocery store, I'm always tugging on the thing to make sure that it's, not one of the skimmers. And again, in that scenario, if your debit card gets compromised, again, it's your checking account that could be at a loss. If it's a credit card, again, at least it's not your liquid assets. It's not
Right.
something tangible that you can actually lose.
Right, and you could call the credit card, and 9 out of 10 times
Yeah.
they'll relieve you of the
Right.
obligation.
Exactly.
But a debit card, it's going to be gone.
Right.
And-
we could, depending on the scenario, still make you whole.
Right.
But again, the chances are better if you are using that credit card.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I mean, a lot of people don't use cash anymore. Maybe we have to go back to that.
Yeah.
Because, can't get scammed with using cash, but there's a lot of scams, and we hear it on the phone. You get called all the time. Like you said, people use realistic numbers,
Yeah.
and you don't know how to answer. I avoid them because certain people aren't going to call you and ask you questions over the phone. But some people that aren't used to it, especially from an older, like my generation, we're not used to these scams. And people older than myself, they're scared and they don't know how to answer.
I mean,
my advice to them is don't answer it at all.
But that's the thing. These scammers are professionals. Like I said, they're gonna threaten you. It's gonna sound realistic. It's gonna put fear in your heart sometimes. And in hindsight, you'll say, "What was I thinking?" But in the moment, it's really difficult.
Yeah,
it
it's
really
hard.
is. We've literally had clients walk into our branch on the phone with a fraudster, and they were about to take a withdrawal out.
Really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
luckily it was somebody that we have a relationship with. Excuse me. They were speaking in a very low voice, and one of my other bankers picked up on it, and she thought maybe strep throat or something. She was like talking low because the fraudsters instructing her, advising her, don't talk to the bankers, take the money out.
Yeah.
And long story short, she didn't take any money out and she didn't take any loss. But again, it's there.
Yeah.
She was willing and filled out the withdrawal slip, was about to walk out with that cash if we didn't advise it. So
It's scary.
Yeah.
You don't know who to believe anymore.
yeah,
You don't know if you should pick up your phone. You shouldn't pick up your phone. You get emails. You get scam emails.
yeah. So the things with the emails, I usually look out for. It'll be common misspellings. Punctuation might be off here and
Right.
there. Look at the email address. It could be a slight variation where it doesn't look right. But again, just be vigilant. You have to, assume the worst. As cynical as it sounds, I'd rather be prepared and, than have to regret it later, especially with your finances.
Because it could disrupt your life.
Yeah.
And even though you might get the money recouped, or it could take a while.
Time and effort, for sure.
Yeah,
For
and,
sure.
Sometimes people can't afford to have that kind of money missing in their account for maybe weeks, maybe months before they resolve it. So, good advice. I mean, we should listen to them. And just really quick,
Yeah.
are you from Clifton?
I'm from Woodland Park, so I'm your neighbor.
Okay. Well, one of my questions is what do you love most about our town?
Okay, so Clifton. Okay, I do love the food. I'm a foodie naturally. I cook myself, so Tommy's Tavern. I think I just moved here. It's been about a year, so I haven't gotten to everywhere I would like to. The Barrow House is another one, I think, if I'm pronouncing that right. That was a good one. But I'm a foodie, so I love the food. I do love that, like, from the perspective of being in the bank, I see a diverse, customer base. So I do see that side of this community,
Sure. We have the most culturally diverse city probably in the state. And
Yeah.
I was joke about it and say that, you could literally eat in a different country every night of the week.
Yeah, seriously.
Of course, crisscrossing the town, there's every culture is in
Yeah.
Clifton. And the food. You could go from Italian, Polish, Mediterranean, Cuban, different Spanish cultures.
And then get a cheeseburger if you want.
Yeah, right. Or desserts and
Yeah.
it's great. So, And lastly, just like what advice would you give young people who might be interested in like a career in yours?
In the financial
Yeah,
industry,
yeah, 'cause it's
I would say yes. So I'm on the customer facing side. So I think there's, at least for the financial, there's the customer facing and then there's also back office. Customer facing, I love this side of things because I get the stories.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just numbers. We're not just doing a loan and kicking people out. You get to, again, build a relationship. So again, if anybody is interested in getting into the financial industry, again, just there's more to it than just the numbers, I would say. You know, if I can share a story, like like there is a client that she is elderly, she's retired right now. She came to me with a need. She said, hey, I have a granddaughter that is going to college and we want to pay for her tuition. We went to this place and this place for a student loan. These are the rates that they're sharing with us. I was like, okay. So I started asking questions, found out she's a homeowner, and then we offered a second solution, which is line of credit, which is, to me, in my opinion, is better than a loan because it's revolving. You're going to bring it back. The rate is a lot lower, and it's something that you can use for other things in the future. So again, so I lead with the benefits. And she thought it was a good idea. We did get the application through. Everything was approved. And again, she actually brought her granddaughter maybe a month later because she's actually going to school in Italy. So the next thing, now she needs my help again because basically I built that trust. So she said, hey, they need a visa. So this is the checklist for the visa. So, you know, the student needed an account, verification of deposit letter. So again, they were very nervous. They were kind of shaken, but I would kind of walk them along that road and, you know, we got everything done. And then again, it's a little cheesy, you know, but I do feel good when I go home those days, you know.
Sure,
when I
you help somebody.
Yeah, you know, it might seem, again, it's maybe corny, cheesy, whatever you want to call it, but you give the client that good feeling. You know, it's a feeling. You know, that's what it is. It's a feeling.
Helping people.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody should help everybody. I mean, I appreciate you coming on, Ilyas.
Ilyas, yes.
Ilyas. Okay, that's good. And good information. But this fraud thing is really big now. So listen to his advice. Take precautions because you really
Go to your banker.
Yeah.
Go to your local branch this week.
Yeah, and that's a good idea. Have a rapport.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
very good.
absolutely. Build a relationship.
Well,
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for the time,
coming
Ray.
on. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We hope you enjoyed the show. As always, be good to your friends and family. Respect your neighbors. This is a great city. Keep Clifton close to your heart. Thank you and have a good night and God bless. And happy holidays.